Now, on the journey of figuring out how to do this, there were 4 fundamental problems we encountered. Marketing, sales, delivery, and pricing. All of them are broken in the coaching industry. Marketing, normally the more value you have to offer, the easier it is to do marketing, sales, delivery, and pricing. In coaching, it's harder. It's bizarre. Okay, so in coaching, the more value you offer, the harder it is to describe the value you offer. I'm going to break each of these down. The more that value scares your clients and they run away screaming into the night, saying, I'd love to work with you, but I don't have the time and the money, the harder it is to measure the life changes that you're making with people and the value that those have. And the harder it is to create honest pricing that work, that doesn't actually reduce the value of what you're delivering. Okay, so marketing. This is deep, 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 deep. We could spend a lot of time on this, but just take it on faith for now. This is woo level 10. Einstein had that quote that a problem can't be solved at the same level that created it. That's one of the wisest things that's ever been said. So the foundation of personal and spiritual development happens one dilemma at a time. Well, we call it one conflict where there's 2 bad choices. Now, you as someone who's a space holder, who's done more work, who can see a bigger space than they can, you see a solution. They cannot see the solution until they've done the work, till they've grown their beingness to be able to actually take it on. The higher can't see the lower. That's it. What if your desired output is a client with a better life path, but with less money? Again, if that has more value for them, fine. Value lives in them. How do they define value? Now, the thing is, how do you measure the inside out things, which we're going to talk about briefly in a minute, but there's a whole ton of tools there, and it's a whole thing. Okay, but that is, you're talking about one of the fundamental problems. Okay, so with marketing, all of marketing is based on describing the benefits of the solutions you offer. That doesn't work at all in coaching. This drives people nuts. As a fallback, what people tend to do is figure out that they have to have the biggest name with the biggest list and the most best-selling books, because people will trust the authority figures. And that's the default way people market personal and spiritual development, but it's definitely not the best way. Okay? The reason why the industry is organized around that is because of this picture. Okay? People can't see the solution until they've done the journey. The answer to this, and again, this is a 6-month conversation with a lot of time on the map, but the pathway is that marketing is about diagnosing people's problems better than they can. Do you have this problem? Does it seem like you're stuck between these 2 bad choices? What? No. You see my 2 bad... You're right. I do. I feel stuck between those 2 bad choices. Wow. It's like a doctor saying, does it hurt when I poke here? Yes. Stop poking there. Okay? So you poke them, and they're like, is this your pain? Yes, it hurts a lot. Okay. Can I explain to you why you're stuck in this dilemma? Okay, and you can explain the diagnosis at their level of like we've done this for hundreds of marketing pathways with different coaches and clients and things. We've done a lot of this. We've always found that they can see the diagnosis before they can see the solution. Slowing down and helping diagnose people's problems. The best self-help books diagnose people's problems better than sell the solution. Go look at Crucial Conversations. There's a fantastic case study of this. They did a great job of diagnosing a problem. Right? That's a phenomenal template right there. Okay, we did that. Sales. People are scared to change. So the more value you offer, the more it creates a yes, yes, hell no in them. Yes, yes, I would love to work with you. Hell no, run away. I call it the big lie. I'd love to work with you, but I just don't have the time or the money. In response, what the industry does is either hard sales or no sales. I've trained with a lot of the high-end people in this space, including the NLP stuff and Tony Robbins stuff and the people who train all these people. And like I was at the heart of that industry for 12 years. And I have either coached or been coached by just about anybody in the space in some form or another. And almost all of the sales practices that are taught out there and are called enrollment are actually emotional manipulation or a piece of the core process, because they have to find some way to push people through their fears, right? They don't have a good way of dealing with the conflict. Okay, so don't do that. Don't manipulate people, but don't enable their fears. The reason why I wrote Yes Is Hell No is a solution to this problem. That book is an enrollment tool for your clients. It gives you the tools to talk with them about the fact that they're scared to change, and that you can, and there's actually tools in there you can use to help make friends with their fears, so you can invite them through their conflict rather than push them. Okay, I haven't seen a single other sales program for coaches that has done it in full integrity, that's been validated by people like Jack Canfield, who I coached for a while with his organization, because he spent 30 years looking for a full integrity solution and couldn't find one. And he says, yep, that's it. That works for me. Okay, invite people through their fears by making the conflict explicit. Okay, the way you do that is by enrolling people. There are 6 stages of change. You think of like the 5 stages of grief, that's a process. We go through those stages one at a time, and you'll get these pictures. There's 6 stages of change. We go through invitation, which is building rapport. Then motivation, which is the value they want to create. What do they want and why? They want less money, but a better life. Great. What does that better life look like? What does it feel like? Where are they at now? Where do they want to be on that? Diagnosis and prescription. D doesn't fit in the nice little acronym, but it's really diagnose and prescribe. Okay, that's where you build your credibility. Then acceptance of their fears, inviting them to commit cleanly to a container that's strong enough to help them do the hero's journey work of transformation. And then you do the work. What people are trained to do is, oh, if I could just get the clients to show up who would pay me to do the work. No, the work happens before they sign up. I typically spend 4 to 6 weeks with a client unpaid, walking them through these steps before they sign up to work with me for a year. This is by far the most challenging, exciting work I do, is the unpaid work before I start. If I've done this work well, then when I get to this point, it's almost easy. Now, it's crises show up and there's big problems and it's still, but the journey, the container is built. They're in. Okay, learning the skills for how to dance people through that is the essence of getting your black belt on the map. Learning how to go from proving worth to providing value then is how you get from like 1st degree black belt to 3rd degree black belt. So you're holding it in integrity. Okay, delivery. How do you talk about value? We talk about the things you have, like money, the things you do in life, and who you're being. The deeper it is, the more value it has, but the harder it is to measure. That doesn't mean you can't measure it. We've built phenomenal tools that allow us to measure almost anything, but it's not simple. You've got to practice. You've got to learn. There's a lot of work there. Okay, so don't just give up. Oh, if it's not the first level, I can't measure it. No, you absolutely can. And if you can't measure it, you can at least talk about it. Right? The heart of enrollment is what we call value conversations. It's slowing down and talking to people about what would be valuable for them. The tool that I'm going to send Tom to send to you, the vision values exercise, is a value conversation tool. It's a way of surfacing the question of what is valuable to you. Okay? Solution. Value really is about pathway. Right? This is what Tom is pointing towards. People are on a good path usually. Now, there's some unseen dangers. There may be some pitfalls in the road that they don't see yet. And there's the opportunity for a better path that gives them more of what they most want, defined by them, not you. Never, ever, ever defined by you. Path is always defined by them. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Value is defined by the client. It's never your job to want something for them. It's your job to figure out what they really want and help them get it better. Okay, the delta between these paths is value creation over time. How do you do that? You master value conversations. You get really good at knowing who you can hold space for and who you can't. and you develop a toolkit for measuring the unmeasurable. Last one, pricing. Client commitment is the biggest piece of value creation. If they're totally committed, you can help them. If they're totally committed to not changing, you can't. If you lower your prices, that means you actually potentially provide less value. I have tested this thing so many effing times. Okay, I cannot tell you the number of times back when I was in my Don Quixote, save the world, I'm going to rescue every starving coach, counselor, healer from poverty, all these good-hearted people that I want to lift up into success so they can change the world. Oh my God, it was a painful 12-year process, but I learned a lot. Okay, there are a lot of windmills with my lance hole in them out there. Okay, I can't tell you the number of times I've met with a high-end name in the transformation industry with a best-selling book, but in a cash flow crisis. And I say, here, we've got this one-year program. Come on in, right? It's $10,000 or whatever the price was at the time. It's a one-year program. It will certainly help you increase your income by much more than the $10,000 you'd have to pay. Just promise to me that you'll pay the $10K after sometime when the program is going or by the time it's done. And they say, yes, and I am committed, and I am in, and I will create the value. And not one time did they actually create the value to increase their income. I failed utterly every single time I tried that. Okay, there's some type of deep giving and receiving pattern where it's like, if people can only receive so much. It's scarier to receive than it is to give. The limiting factor in value creation is usually on the receiving side. Your clients can only absorb so much. Okay? I find that it's hard for me to deliver much more than 10 times the value to somebody of what they're paying, not because of a lack of my capacity, but because of a lack of their ability to receive. So there's a sweet spot in pricing, and you can lie about this really, really easily to yourself and others. There are a lot of people here that are ripping people off. There are a lot of people here that are charging nothing and giving away everything for free. Finding honest pricing is one of the most important questions in the game. Okay? So the solution is what we say, qualification has to be greater than commitment. There's a lot of people that talk about commitment creates value now. They've learned that principle. But you need to talk about value, measure value, think about value. You want to keep the purple line greater than the green one. How do you develop the ability to receive effectively? That is a 17-year question. The short answer is actually spiritual development. We talk about 5 stages of development. Taking, pleasing, achieving, which is the proving worth stage. Giving, which is where a lot of you are at now. That's the shift from proving worth to providing value. And then receiving. Opening to, like, power through you is receiving. True abundance is receiving. Okay? The Wu Wei that Taoism points to, that's receiving. It's scary as hell. It triggers every yes says hell no in your system. And so, like, having containers that help you work with your fears as you keep moving up your own inner glass ceiling. The Big Leap by Hendricks, Gay Hendricks, is a fantastic book on that topic. Okay, master skill. Discerning who you can help and who you can't. If you're a coach, I guarantee there's at least one person on earth that you can provide life-changing value to. I also guarantee there's at least one person on earth you can't do squat for. Okay? You are utterly incompetent with at least one person, and you're utterly competent with at least one person. Your job is figuring out which is which. Now, the problem being that the ones that are the best fit for you are going to run screaming from you. And that's why enrollment is so important. Okay? So, really good foundational practices is building a list of red flags, yellow flags, green flags during the enrollment conversation. Red flags is stop, do not pass go. I'm not working with you unless we resolve this. Yellow flag is we need to slow down and talk about these and make sure we have agreement on how we're going to address them. Green flags, all right, let's move forward. Okay? In general, I don't work with clients anymore that have red flags. one-on-one. I'll work with people who have maybe 1 or 2 yellow flags, but I'm enjoying my coaching so much. I'm like, give me 10 green flags and 1 or 2 yellow flags, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? And then, again, your greatest clients are going to need the most enrollment to slow down and dance with them through the stages one at a time, because you're actually giving them everything they most want, and it scares the crap out of them at a deep level. Our nervous system is wired not to change or change slowly. Change scares people at a foundational biological level.